Excelsior!
Oh my goodness, welcome to our continuing look at the 1990 Marvel trading card set. We recently wrapped up...
over there. Remember that
box? Yes. We recently wrapped up a complete look at the heroes. This set has 160-something cards in it.
Woo!
The first 51 cards are all just superheroes.
Yeah, you can see the teaser there, famous battles.
Yeah, we talk heroes, villains, famous battles, famous covers, and that's how we would collect them back in the day. And this is the series that if this is your first one watching, this is what got a lot of us into the idea of the Marvel Universe, that these characters that we kind of knew from toys or comic books, that they all shared the same city. Well, most of them are in New York, frankly.
Yeah.
But we didn't have Wikipedia. We had these cards.
That was it.
And in the cards, as you'll see as we go through them, you'll see their stories are basically told through like facts about them, and you would learn that, oh, they've had all this history has already taken place, and you're kind of reading it as an archive. But yeah, instead of heroes now, we are on the card number 52, which begins a look at the villains.
Ooh,
and
bring
again,
on the bad guys.
And there's far fewer villains in this set than there were heroes. So we'll get.
Even then, these I remember at the time, I can't wait until I encounter this person. Some of these people, I've been reading Marvel comics for 20 years. I have never encountered within the pages of anything.
Yeah, the 90s villains, the 1990 villains weren't as good as they were.
Well, you'll get a lot of like total classic characters in this, and then you'll see a handful of who?
Yeah, almost everybody you see in this picture behind you, you'll find it in there, or at least the second set.
Yeah, this is a very Spider-Man centric image.
Oh
but,
yeah,
I can't wait to say hello to the bad guys.
I get it.
Kick it.
Let's go into the first of the villains this time. Is Kingpin.
The best. Good old Wilson Fisk.
And this is definitely leaning on his superhuman. He doesn't have superhuman strength, but his stature and his size was always super exaggerated in the comics.
God, just his diamond-topped cane. I just love that so much. And also the Kingpin of New York, you can see in the, I guess, sliding door behind him. He's like, oh, I own this city. That's my city, New York.
It's a great piece of art, too. And as the funny thing about these cards that we talked about is that they don't... This was their first real crack at trading cards, and they didn't know what to do, so they did baseball card stuff, which was random stats, like win percentage. And a villain that wins 63% of the time seems like a pretty good villain.
For real.
Yeah, I would think he won more, because at this point, I don't believe the Kingpin had ever been caught. His thing was... like it says there, he first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 50, though by about 20 years into, 15 years into his existence, he became a Daredevil villain. He's been that ever since. That's the Vincent D'Onofrio played him in the thing.
In the Netflix show.
And they list Punisher there as one of his villains as well.
Yeah, he didn't like him either. He's the head of organized crime in the crazy fictional world of Marvel.
Look at the Did You Know?
Yeah.
Most people believe that his Kingpin's bulk is fat, when in fact, it's muscle.
Yeah.
Is it?
Can I carry this card around and say that for myself, too?
Because judging by his hands, it looks like giganticism.
Yeah. But he's also this character.
I don't know why, but I have a picture of my Incredible Hulk animation cell up here for display.
We'll have a Hulk villain pretty soon.
In the Frank Miller Fall from Grace storyline, in the Frank Miller Born Again storyline, he makes a point of saying he's got 0% body fat. That's all. That's just the shape of his body.
And he would eventually, not long after this, tussle with Ghost Rider, because he was also in the right before. You'll see Ghost Rider later in the set, because he's not one of the heroes yet.
I gotta say, the Farrelly brothers really got this guy wrong in that bowling movie.
Later, he would become in charge of a team of ninjas.
Yeah. But up next, 53, Baron Zemo.
That is a beautiful card, by the way. If I had to tattoo one of these things on my arm, this might be one of them.
Well, he is a Nazi, Chris. I don't know if you should...
He just won
a pink Nazi?
His Nazi stature is debatable. Could you switch to the other one real quick?
Oh, my bad.
His Nazi stature is debatable.
He's more of a Cobra villain, if anything.
So, Baron Helmet Zemo, he's actually a descendant of Zemo. There's the Zemo who killed Bucky. Actually,
not anymore.
He did kill Bucky at this point in time, but his father was a Nazi. But he also is just a super rich Germanic baron who was a member of the Nazi Party. His son, who isn't a Nazi per se, he wanted to get revenge on Cap for causing the death of his father. And he's the one who pulled together the team of the Masters of Evil to destroy the Avengers. It was a really cool story. It's funny here because in 6 years, he will make a face turn and become the leader of the Thunderbolts and become a good guy under the guise of Citizen V.
Wow.
And get job the hell out in Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah, big time.
I mean, his win percentage is only 29%.
It is really, to emphasize how badass Kingpin is.
Yeah, but he did win the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 32.
Oh, Jesus.
That's Baron Corbin, I'm sorry.
Oh, you got me.
But
I do want to point out that
ladies and gentlemen.
I want to point out that he's 5'10", 180, so I think I could take him.
Yeah. No, he gets beat a lot. He gets beat a lot, even as the head of the Masters of Evil. Like, he's just a good planner.
So the new card would say special powers, perseverance.
Yeah. I just also love the color contrast here. The hot pink with the dull like brown in the background.
It's only now becoming an acceptable color again after 20 years of being retired.
Well, he spent the
color, not Baron Zemo.
And that fur fluff on the side, the fur trim. Come on.
It's like dotted. It's not just white. It's like hyena dotted fur. I do love the fur trim. Again, for about 10 years, from like 96 to 2006, 2008 maybe, he was kind of a good guy, but a good guy the good guys hated because they're like, no, you're Baron Zemo. Now he's pretty much a villain again, and I believe we will see him in Civil War. Not to possibly spoil
his face is scarred.
Yeah, probably.
He has fucked up face.
Why not? Why not? After that is
Loki, which like I remember encountering Loki in the comics, but because Tom Hiddleston's depiction is totally taken over who he is in my brain, like that doesn't have any resemblance.
He doesn't look like a sexy Englishman at all.
So it took me as a kid. It took me in kid time years, in reality probably days, to realize that Loki is sitting in a throne and not like weirdly skulking and like holding a pose.
Destiny level.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a Kirby drawing, but that is Kirby as all hell, which is like, this is what Loki looked like then.
Yeah.
He'd look like this probably into the 2000s before he finally got to stop looking like a crazy space god. In case you don't know, Jack Kirby, like, he created the new gods at DC, but his first version of space deities was the Norse gods, including Loki.
Also known as the God of Mischief or the God of Lies.
Yes.
And he is
lies.
He is the top villain of the Avengers. He's the first enemy they ever faced, and he united them. Even though, and that's the same as it is in the movies too. Yeah.
Yep.
I'd say the movie is an upgrade from his Kermit the Frog Dickie and Captain Hook hat.
Loki here.
He does have a merman color scheme going on.
And also his being ageless. This was the same thing on the Thor card. He has a lot of wins and a lot of losses. Like so many battles.
Holy shit, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I want you to imagine tying 734 times.
Jesus, I don't think I've lived 5,000 days.
Though, does that 525 pounds include the weight of his helmet?
It must. 645. Whoa, damn, 520. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, see, the did you know is the exact thing I just said. They formed the Avengers to make Hulk and Thor fight. Though we love that.
When you learn this is the foundation of all Henry's knowledge of the Marvel universe.
It is
right here in the cards. You're not a real fan.
This is the foundation of all my knowledge. I'll be the first to admit it. Like, this is where it all started, was reading these cards.
Yeah.
Sure.
Actually, even the word super villain. I had heard the word superhero by 1990 as a kid, but by super villain, I'd never heard that.
They're better than DC's villains because they're super.
No.
Does this not emphasize how important the X-Men were? That this guy is so high up in the roster.
I mean, the Juggernaut.
It is the Juggernaut.
I love it. He's the Juggernaut, bitch. I mean, the Juggernaut's design is classic. You can't really improve on it, I don't think. They've tried to give him like more like elbow pads and stuff. I'm just like, come on, just have him be sleek. He's an indestructible monster man with a bowling pin.
He's an aerodynamic Ram Man.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ram Man.
Ram Man.
Oh, God, I love the profile pic in the.
Yeah, it is mostly.
Yes, the profile pic's much better. I like it. I can't place the artist on there. Maybe Art Adams, I'd say, perhaps. But
Kane Marco.
Yeah, he is. As the Did You Know points out, he is the stepbrother of Professor X, as he would also tell you in the Pride of the X-Men cartoon.
I didn't know he got his strength from a gem.
Yes, this Cyttorak gem.
Cyttorak gem is what gave him his powers. He found it while exploring, and it gave him his powers. That gem has been passed on to Colossus at one point. Though I think Kane Marco has it back. Also, you would think for a guy who's unstoppable, he wouldn't have a 38% win percentage.
Yeah. So
but do those really count as wins when they're just like? That's the thing I hate reading most Juggernaut comics, because if he's fighting anybody who has a telepathic on their team, you're just like, well, his helmet's going to come off.
Yep.
Soon his helmet will come off, and then they'll deactivate his brain. And then the other half of the time is just like it's a punt, really. Like, oh, I, Thor, can't stop you, but I can zap you into outer space, and we won't see you again. I win!
I know one battle Juggernaut is not winning, and that would be the battle against Food. because I know a corset when I see one. Girdle, meant to lock in freshness.
But I did like the idea of there'd be a lot of fights with him where it's like you could reason with him about, wait, what are you doing here? Hey, let's figure something out, because the idea is there's this protective force field kind of always around him. It's like, yeah, you can't stop him.
He's a simple man who's just like, yeah, well, money. Like, okay, here's money.
But then for years, the problem is, for too long, he was the character of like, he beat Juggernaut? And it's like, well, yeah, when everybody beats Juggernaut.
They're like, oh, Onslaught beat Juggernaut?
Everybody beats Juggernaut. Nobody does.
Yeah. Kane Marco, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Nightmare. I love this art.
How dare he be this high on here?
Well, look, the numbers don't mean anything.
I know,
like the only way that sequential numbering gets you is
they don't. Spider-Man didn't come in for like the 40th card.
That's true, but I mean, Nightmare is like, I guess he still exists, and maybe he'll.
I have not encountered Nightmare in years.
Maybe he'll start, getting some more.
He was around. I read him recently in something, but I love this art of like the crazy dimension he inhabits, where the background is just screaming faces. Like, I love that art.
I'm happy here.
Yeah, he's got a very ridiculous,
give me your dreams,
almost Colbert-looking face. But yeah, I read him through Doctor Strange. He's in one of the first Doctor Strange, Strange Tales. Yeah, he's one of Strange's first villains he'll fight in the comics, and Ghost Rider has an encounter with him in a few issues in the 90s series. But yeah, it's this crazy dreamland where almost, this Lovecraftian thing sort of, where it's the dreamscape where we go and our subconscious travels, and that's where he is. And
when he's a Steve Ditko creation, which explains his crazy outfit
I love it.
Covered in crisscross things. Like, I would think drawing Spider-Man spiderwebs is nothing compared to that design.
His body looks like Vulture with a cape.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, he's very svelte man.
But he's one of many Doctor Strange enemies that are just like, I'm a god. Stop me, sorcerer.
Yeah. How good of a god is he if he only controls one dimension? Like that is only on the card because they probably had to fill space.
Yeah, probably.
And again, an ancient dude who has had 1,850 ties.
But he rides a demon black horse, but back to Nightmare. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't see him much because he's one of those characters that, like, when he shows up, there's like 3 characters who could deal with him. So we gotta wait for Strange or Ghost Rider, or maybe Thor could go on dimension hopping and fight him. But
there's also Sleepwalker. I think
his height and weight are variable. I guess that means he changes size.
I mean, he
physical form, man.
Yeah, he doesn't actually have a physical form, I don't think.
But yeah, Nightmare,
everybody. Boom.
There you
go. It's me.
Right before he got his big makeover. Because again, this is 1990, so this is right before a lot of characters transitioned into the 90s comics, and a lot of the Capcom fighting games are the Sabretooth that we know and the Psylocke and Wolverine that we know. This is right before all that happened. So this is Wolverine of like the 70s and 80s, or sorry, Sabretooth of the 70s and 80s. Slightly different costume.
His full-on Cruella de Vil outfit.
No, I love that costume. He wasn't even created as a Wolverine villain. They just Chris Claremont created him, and so they just kind of transferred him over. But if you see his first appearance on the back, that's Iron Fist 14.
Oh, wow.
He originally appeared as a dude fighting Iron Fist. Then when they canceled Iron Fist, Chris Claremont's like, fine, I'll put him in the X-Men. He should be fighting Wolverine anyway.
Yeah.
You must have had the toy too that is that costume with his furry fringes on his
I don't think I had it, but a friend had it, and I remember playing with it a lot.
I mean, you had to have him so he could fight the Wolverine toy.
But like largely the same powers as Wolverine, healing, strength, and senses. And so him and Wolverine over the years, especially back then and through the mid-90s, like they were the two, like they're going to have a scrap.
Yeah.
Like they're going to fight each other and bleed, and they can't die.
Even according to the card, his business is assassination, and brother, business is good.
Well, I don't believe, they don't mention it on the card, but once a year, he would come and beat the crap out of Wolverine. And it became a thing of like, ugh, fuss, Sabretooth's coming, man. And they have the same power level. For a time, I think even behind the scenes, they're like, oh yeah, he's Wolverine's dad or his brother or something. He is neither of those things. It also doesn't have his name. His name wasn't even decided at that time. Now it's Victor Cree. I think it was only a couple years before at least that was answered.
And Chris, you played him in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
It was an honor.
That's a great impression.
I had to apologize to my wife. Forgot her name.
What show are you on
Maya
now?
Leone?
No,
that's not it. Naomi Watts. That's who my wife is. Watch me on Ray Donovan.
That's the one, Ray Donovan.
Yes!
Electro! I love that the chaos he's causing in the background of all these people. And that goofy-ass lightning bolt he's throwing with an arrow like pointing at it.
It looks like a whip made of lightning.
So this is the first card I think I got of a supervillain. I remember flipping through the set in 4th grade and seeing this and being like, who's Electro? And this is again, this is where like I learned like there's Spider-Man has villains? I thought he was just like a character, like Mickey Mouse, who's just he's on things, right? And he's like, wait, he fights people?
And he has lots of villains, including I love electric villains. I mean, like Megawatt was one of my favorite characters.
Darkwing Duck,
Livewire. I also like the green and yellow is the the dressing of the card as well. And yeah, he first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 9. I'd say he's the 12th villain he ever fought, because obviously in the same issue he fought Chameleon and he saved a spaceship, so let's say 9.
It's like Chameleon and then Doc Ock and Vulture.
Chameleon, Vulture, Tinkerer, Doc Ock,
he's
Sandman.
also a human dynamo.
And not too long after his first appearance, I didn't know this, but he fought Daredevil in like Daredevil 4. So he was one of Daredevil's first enemies too. But his thing is that he aims low. He is easily defeated. He usually his best moments are when he's talked into doing stuff, but it used to be, especially then, it was I want to steal cars. You can control all electricity. I just want to steal cars. It's easy.
He had a point in the mid-2000s where they started playing with his abilities of like, wait, if he has total control of electricity, then in some way he gets into magnetism. So shouldn't he have like low-level Magneto powers? And they started exploring that in one of those, I think one of them, the Marvel Knights Spider-Man. And then, I don't know, it was kind of an interesting idea.
How long has it been since he wore the mask?
They got rid of it then. It flattened down.
I liked when it would flatten down in real life, and when he would, or regular times, and then when he'd use his powers, it'd zip up. It
was a little less
like
goofy.
A cat's ears.
But now he just has kind of face paint on his face to show electric waves on his face.
He's not neon blue like the movie.
You take that off, he's the spitting image of Jamie Foxx, I bet.
But yeah, his whiteness is not inherent to his character, so he could be played by anybody.
Indeed.
Max Dillon. There he is.
Yeah, there he is. Classic business suit Dr. Octopus. This is when he kind of tried to be the
welcome to Fantasy Island.
This is the Ralph Nader version of Dr. Octopus.
Yeah, well, he had just been a joke for a while. He's like, I'm a fat guy in a green outfit. Don't punch me in the face, please.
Bonk.
But then when they rebooted him in the late 80s,
fucking Mo Howard haircut.
I take exception to that haircut. No, in the late 80s, he restarted the Sinister Six, and he was their leader, and he was just like, yeah, I'm awesome. I've got adamantium arms. I can F up anybody.
Well, that was after, so there's Return.
He doesn't have adamantium
There's
arms.
Return of the Sinister Six, which is actually when I got into Amazing Spider-Man. And he reunites Sinister Six, who Kraven was dead, so they put in Hobgoblin instead of Kraven. And then he would reunite them again a few years later and have adamantium arms, which is like Doc Ock with adamantium arms is kind of a ridiculous idea because he could just flip them around everywhere, and even the Hulk can't break them. So.
Which was ridiculous. That was so funny because in the comic he beats up the Hulk like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And then in like 3 issues later or 3 months later in the Hulk book, Hulk was like, yeah, I wasn't even trying, and now I'm beating the crap out of you without breaking a sweat because I am the frickin' Hulk.
Yeah.
It was just the writer saying, like, that should have never happened.
Yeah, it was the 90s.
Ratio is terrible. I also, I'm noting the dates on their first appearances. A lot of 1963.
Yeah, these are all Spider-Man, so...
I mean, Spider-Man, Ditko kind of set the tone. There were other major dudes after, like, the Shocker and Rhino appeared in the John Romita run that directly followed it, but Steve Ditko's 38 issues on Amazing Spider-Man plus two annuals, that sets the tone for Spider-Man's pretty much entire career.
And I believe someone mentioned in the comments that the color border, green, means it's aligned with Spider-Man villains. I think the border can sometimes reflect the allegiance of things or the grouping that you might see.
Who the hell is Baron Zemo aligned with?
That might have just been Avengers.
And he does control them with thought, as the Did You Know points out. Though this is also before we got any real background on the life of Otto Octavius and his very sad life that caused his origin, which also explained how he tried to save his ex-girlfriend from dying of AIDS.
Oh my God, he's way fatter than I thought. 5'9" and 245 pounds.
And don't misread that last sentence in his bio. It's Titanic tentacles. Tentacles.
Next up we got, look at that.
The best.
A better doctor.
The doctors together. But there's Latveria right behind him. Controls it with an iron fist. The greatest supervillain in Marvel and maybe anywhere.
The inspiration for Darth Vader.
Yeah, he's just so awesome. Victor Von Doom, he went to the same college as Reed Richards. He is a Gypsy, who learned both all about magic and all about science, went to America, got his face scarred when he was trying to find his mother's spirit in hell, and then went to a bunch of weird shamans who encased him in a metal suit. And then he took over his old country of Latveria and has ever since planned to destroy that infernal Richards.
Yeah, but
that win percentage is bullshit.
Yeah.
He won all the time.
He won all the time, and I don't know, he's very, like, the way he's written is just so, like, stately, and, like, he will play by a code of honor, and, like, he will stick to his word, and there's all kinds of great stories where, like, he's beating the shit out of somebody, and someone mentions, like, Doom, you gave your word that X, Y, Z, and he's like, Doom remembers.
I cannot tell a lie.
And he will, like, you got me. Like, and it's just, I don't know, and then he would rule in, like, try to actually rule his country well. I mean, that varies by writer, but he wasn't just a tyrant all the time. I don't know, he's one of the best villains that Marvel has. And after you go all the way with Thanos, like, in the movies, trying to find some way to get Fantastic Four back to Marvel Studios, if only to have Doctor Doom done in that universe. That's the only other villain you can go to.
Well, just Doom does so many, like, Marvel Universe-wide villaining.
Yeah. In the Did You Know mentions his horribly disfigured face. Last year, they showed it for the first time ever.
Secret Wars, 4? Or something
Secret
like that?
Wars 4, I think it was. It revealed it for all time. And yeah, he's... I do like that stat. Nations conquered 233. Nations lost 232.
I like the height and weights because there is the exact same as mine. Chris Antes to everybody.
No, that's without the medal. I have to get.
Wait, doesn't that disfigured face control Assassin's Creed in the movie?
What?
Yes, it does. This is an accurate joke.
Okay,
in
good.
the movie that everybody loved, the 2015 Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom. They should put it right up there in the stats. Doctor Doom drinks Orange Crush and plays Assassin's Creed with his face.
I get it.
I don't recognize
that. Completely happened. I was there. I saw it.
All right. Ultron. So this is my favorite villain of all time. I just love the idea of a hateful robot that just shrieks and screams about how mad he is. But right here from the card, you get like, okay, cool silver body. I see the heads in the background, so he probably rebuilds himself all the time. And you learn a lot, like right away. Like, oh, and it sets up in the card he was built by Henry Pym, an Avenger. The AI goes crazy. It develops this resentment of being abandoned and now wants to destroy all humanity, builds itself an adamantium body because I'm sure that shit's just laying around. And now he's just their number one villain, really. Created by them.
I love that ghastly goal. His ghastly goal at the end there. And yeah, well, we talk about adamantium in this one and in the Doctor Doom one. This was just adamantium proliferation.
Sure.
I blame it on in the 80s, Wolverine became so popular, and then every other writer was like, oh, well, if Wolverine could beat up, well, just slice apart my most powerful dude, then I have to say his claws won't work on him. So adamantium, which there used to be a very scarce amount of stuff, that became quite easy to find if you're, say, Ultron with his metal face.
I want to give a shout out to the art in this because I loved this look in the 80s and the 90s. This multicolored Death Star texture that was like the every indoor arena mark. Because I love that it implies that Ultron is fighting in front of his face haberdashery.
It's like the Avengers are in my building.
I sterilized this morning.
But just like the thing I didn't like about his depiction in the movie, he was just too smart.
Was it my voice?
He was just too smarmy and like.
Let me tell you my plan.
He was a little mad, but like you didn't get a sense of rage. And like
he was a snark bot.
And by the end of the movie,
his face leads you to believe he's screaming all the time.
Yeah, he's mad as shit. And then in the movie, it's like at the end when Hulk throws him out of the jet, he's basically Sideshow Bob. It's just like, oh really? And then he gets thrown down like,
Bruce Banner, really?
Oh, Hulk, really? Like it's just like, oh my god, you guys, this is like to see this villain that has like been the bane of their existence, and not only like, oh yeah, he dropped a country on them, which I thought was a cool plot for Ultron to do, to like, oh, I'll destroy the whole planet. I thought the scheme was fine for Ultron, but it's like he has been at the center of so many like, oh shit, Ultron is back. Like this takes everybody as much effort as they can give to stop this guy, and he only has a handful of great stories, but every time he comes back, it's like, no, we need everybody.
Yeah,
and you
everyone.
Yeah, but yeah,
nice professional reference. Very professional reference.
But I just love that art, the jack-o'-lantern face, and all that. It's such a classic look. But
who do we got
next up,
the Enchantress.
Enchantress, Amora.
She telling me to come hither with that?
Yeah, Dave.
Telling you to do that. Enchantress, real name Amora. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought she was just Enchantress. But
no,
she is the stereotypical sex kitten femme fatale, but on a goddess level.
Who's going to lure a man in and trick him.
Yep, and she has that power over every man, and apparently, and it always weirded her out when, like, hey, this didn't work on this dude. Like, I think in Secret Wars it didn't work on Dr. Doom. Remember that he resisted it because Dr. Doom took the red pill, man. But no, I've seen more recent depictions of Enchantress as at least a little more like she had a really shitty life, and the only way to get what she wanted in the Norse world was to trick Odin with sex stuff, and they at least like softened her up. But what's that win-loss record?
41%.
41%.
Man, she has a better one than Dr. Doom.
Wow.
I disagree with that, man.
Interesting. 0 ties.
Wow, she's not into bondage.
She's never. She either in a relationship either wins or loses. She does not agree to disagree. And again, like you said, Chris, another 1964 appearance.
Yeah.
Jack Kirby for 3 years made every character that mattered.
And we've emphasized this before, but like, keep a note on the most recent Marvel character edition. Like, it is like they have introduced almost no new characters into the zeitgeist for 30 years.
I'm waiting to see somebody from 1980, from after 1980 in here.
Well, mayhaps we might find such a
I like
thing.
her, did you know? Thor is the only man who ever stood up the Enchantress on a date. She had to watch Look Who's Talking To all by herself.
It is worth noting her sister, I think, showed up on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when they started touching on Asgard stuff. All right, that wraps up our first look at the villains from the 1990 card set. When we continue in part 2, you're going to see more cool villains. We're going to get into some cool Spider-Man stuff, some crazy out there stuff, a lot of fun cards still to come. But come back for part 2 and check out our prior videos where we looked through the entire heroes. You can like and subscribe and share and all that good stuff. Thanks for watching.